Hi, today we will be discussing how AI-driven eligibility assessments can enable SCD asset management to accelerate retrofit financing for maximum impact at scale. Here are today's presenters from Artemis Capital Partners, a real estate coverage group. Here is our agenda. So, the opportunity in the challenge of retrofit financing, we suggest that SCD Asset Management leverage AI for the assessment of preliminary eligibility evaluation methods for the purposes of faster deployment of capital, driven by accelerated and improved risk selection, while also having the later opportunity to scale nationally across commercial office portfolios in Canada for maximum impact in CO2 reduction, while also enjoying a return on investment at a moderate risk profile. The current standards practiced by the Canada Infrastructure Bank and its aggregators can result in a 9-month wait time before eligibility can be determined. This consists of data gathering, technical auditing, investor-ready energy efficiency certification, and closing of financial deals by the CIB. By consolidating these steps internally through the means of feeding an AI schema, the required building data listed here on screen, the eligibility screening can be reduced to 1 month, effectively reducing the screening time requirements by an approximate 89%. And depending on the complexity of SCD's operations, 1 to 2 quarters of R&D development can be followed by an ROI of approximately 1,087% at year 30 by rolling out the AI-driven eligibility method with mid to large size office buildings in major Canadian cities. And my colleague Elia will explain our motivation for this choice.
Thank you, Mikhail. So once we built the AI eligibility concept, the key question was, where does it create the most value? We evaluated asset classes based on 5 criteria: tenant demand, loan reliability, scalability, execution risk, and data availability. And then using this criteria, mid to large office buildings consistently ranked the highest. This is because corporate tenants have strong ESG mandates, so retrofits directly improve leasing competitiveness and cash flow, which lowers default risk. Office towers also support larger loan sizes, allowing faster capital deployment. And operationally, offices are just easier to model. They have centralized HVAC systems and consistent data, which makes underwriting more predictable, which is ideal for our AI screening tool. And from a risk-adjusted return perspective, office assets are the strongest target. Now, as you can see here, this matrix compares our criteria against office, residential, industrial, and retail buildings. Industrial buildings, we found, have strong loan reliability, but weaker ESG-driven demand. Residential buildings face split incentives between the owner and the tenant, which reduces the ROI predictability. Retail demand was just too cyclical, and office is the only asset class that scores high across all criteria. So these criteria will guide the AI tool to prioritize buildings that meet these conditions: ones with strong demand, scalable loan size, and predictable performance. Now, after selecting office buildings as our focus, we evaluated where to launch the pilot program. So we looked at a few large major Canadian cities like Vancouver, Toronto, Calgary, and Montreal. We found that Toronto has quite a large scale, and that is what we're looking for, but deployment complexity is higher there. Calgary and Montreal offer stronger energy savings due to a colder climate, but the ESG demand among tenants in those cities is quite weak. On the other hand, Vancouver offers the strongest balance for all the criteria. It combines high ESG demand, an aging office inventory, and active retrofit adoption. The energy savings potential is quite moderate because of a more mild climate, but underwriting confidence and financing feasibility are the strongest. And we decided for a pilot program that predictability matters most, and that's why Vancouver is the optimal first market before we scale nationally. Now my teammate Jonathan will go over the implementation process.
Thank you, Alaya. For the stages of implementation, rollout, and continuance, it breaks into three phases. Short-term development is about getting a safe, usable tool built. We start by defining scope, the boundary of conditional pre-approval, and minimum client inputs. We then write the policies and procedures so everyone is clear on what the tool can and cannot do. We also set the assumptions, confidence scoring, and what triggers manual review. Next, we build intake schema and a consultant curated retrofit library, so any defaults we use are sourced and controlled. Then we implement deterministic calculators for normalization, saving bands, and loan sizing, while the LLM supports extraction, structuring of data, and generating the decision packet. We pilot with human review and staff training before broader utilization. In the medium term, the deployment is where this is operational inside the bank. We go live to the bank staff and integrate the tool into underwriting workflows. We standardize verification so clients only provide deeper documentation after an initial pass. And here, analysts have consistent checklists and sign off steps. At the same time, we begin tracking real versus projected savings and underperformance events to understand variance. Long-term maintenance is how we keep the system reliable and bank ready over time. We recalibrate models using verified outcomes and monitor drift by building type, region, and retrofit measures. We formalize risk management, governance, and change control so updates are auditable. Next, I'll give it to Emmanuel to go over the financials.
Thank you, Jonathan. Now let me walk you through what the numbers actually look like for STD. We modeled two loan tiers, the mid-office at $650,000 and Class A downtown at $2 million, using our 5.45% lending rate, which is prime rate plus 1%. On debt term, industry benchmark from CIB, Efficiency Capital, and CMHC put green commercial retrofits at 15 to 20 years. We use 20 years as our base, which also aligns with HVAC useful life. For the discount rate, we use 7.5% sourced from Altro's Group Q4 2025 report, Canadian 10-year bond at 3.25% plus a 4.25 equity risk premium. That's our work or do. Now, the actual numbers on a rolling portfolio, meaning we keep originating new loans every year, we're looking at about $84 million in outstanding balance at year 5 on 75 loans. By year 30, that's $838 million across 1,000 loans. Cumulative interest earned after 2% default buffer hits $590 million. That's our revenue. Break-even is under 4 years for both tiers. The IRR comes in at 6.1% at year 5, then 11.1% at year 10. Class A runs a bit higher, 7.6%, then 11.9%, because bigger buildings get more out of a central HVAC upgrade. The savings scale better. Both clear the 7.5% WACC or do from year 10. MPV at the point is $490,000 for mid-office and $1.7 million for Class A. So this is genuinely value creating, not just technically positive. And the $725,000 was spending on AI development gets recovered well within the first year of portfolio interest. It's a one-time cost that makes everything else run faster. Now I'm going to be passing it on to my teammate Taha for risk.
Thank you. Next, we will outline the primary risks associated with the energy financing model from a bank's perspective, and most importantly, how each of these risks will be structurally mitigated. We'll start with the borrower selection risk. At origination, we know that the most important variable is who we are lending to. If we underwrite weak counterparties, the entire structure becomes vulnerable regardless of what the projected savings were. To mitigate this, we will be applying strict minimum credit thresholds and require borrower equity participation. This will ensure that not only financially stable clients qualify, and that they have meaningful skin in the game. Equity contribution aligns incentives and reduces moral hazard, while credit screening protects the portfolio at the entry point. Second, we have the performance risk, specifically the risk of failing to achieve the set minimum 10% energy savings target. Since projected savings partially support repayment capacity, underperformance would weaken expected cash flow. We plan to mitigate this by requiring independent engineering validation before any approval is given, along with baseline benchmarking. Post-installation, we will be monitoring performance using measurable KPIs. This creates accountability and also reduces technical uncertainty, ensuring savings are both realistic and verifiable. Third, we'll look at the loan default risk. Even with strong underwriting and performance controls, we know that macroeconomic conditions or borrower-specific issues may lead to default. To protect the bank's principal, we need to secure equipment liens on the retrofit assets and structure repayment around verified savings cash flow. This strengthens recovery positioning and even ties debt servicing directly to operational outcomes. Fourth is the projection and modeling risk. Financial projections can be overly optimistic if assumptions are not conservative. To mitigate this, we apply conservative modeling inputs and conduct downside stress testing before any loan approval is given. This will ensure that the project remains viable even under less favorable energy prices or different performance scenarios. Finally, we have to consider the capital exposure risk, mainly due to the high upfront CapEx nature of retrofits. Large capital deployment increases concentration risk, and we will address this by phasing capital deployment over time and maintaining conservative loan-to-value ratios. This will limit principal at risk and also preserve flexibility for the bank. Overall, the framework shows that each risk is identified at a very specific stage of the credit lifecycle, and it is matched with the structural mitigation. The result is a product that balances sustainability goals with a disciplined credit protection program.
Thank you, Tala. And in conclusion, the introduction of the AI-driven preliminary eligibility assessment tools to the retrofitting of mid to large-size office real estate is a key driver to replacing slow and manual audit processes to accelerate client qualification timelines while preserving and improving analysis quality. And thank you, and we welcome any of your questions.